All right, guys. Thank you so much for your patience. I hope you guys are having a beautiful Friday morning or Friday evening, wherever you are in the world. And I do want to start this call off by just saying thank you for your patience with me as well. Last week I had intended to have a community call with everybody, but unfortunately I managed to somehow get extremely sick and still 10 days later, I'm still recovering and not 100%. So something took me out. So I really do appreciate you guys being patient with me, like throughout throughout the last like week or so. But with that being said, welcome Yago to the speaker panel. Good to see you as always. How are you doing today?
I'm great, thank you. Fun to be on a call with the community again.
It is, yeah. It's been a while since we last like reconnected, so should be nice, catching up and hearing from your side as well. Do you want to kick us off with some updates or anything that you'd like to share?
Sure. So we've been very hard at work. The token went through a launch. We've listed on multiple different exchanges. We've seen significant interest. Trading volumes have been significant. We've continued to see activity on chain, on Bitcoin and elsewhere, utilizing ZKBTC, utilizing programmable charms tokens, and there's a lot of progress. And I'd like to discuss those things briefly. But so I'll go into those things. But before I do, I think it's important to address what is happening in the broader market. And the reason I say this is because we are not an island and we are impacted by what occurs in the broader market. And right now, Bitcoin has had one of its worst months in a very, very long time. Certainly its worst sort of month of November since 2018. So we're talking in 8 years or more. And Ethereum, which is the other big bellwether in the space, doing even worse. So Bitcoin from its peak is now down a third, 33%. Ethereum down over 40%. And overall in the market, we are seeing maximal fear and people are in capitulation mode. Now, I've spoken about this moment quite extensively in other forums, and so I'll discuss it briefly here. My view is that we are in an extremely interesting moment. Maybe the most, I usually don't look at price action at all. I'm usually unaware of what the Bitcoin price is on any given day because it doesn't really matter. I have a long-term mindset and a long-term trajectory. But recently I have been looking, and I think I've been interested because we are at a particularly interesting moment. And what makes this moment so interesting is that there's a disconnect between Bitcoin and the drivers which typically drive Bitcoin and Bitcoin's price action. So what I mean by that is usually when we see a switch from a bull market to a bear market, we see a blow off top. We haven't seen anything like that, or anything coming close even to sort of massive retail speculation over the course of, well, certainly not over the course of the last year. There are also usually various signals that can be seen on chain, which would indicate movement into a bear market. We also haven't seen those. And then there are macroeconomic factors that usually signal moving into a bear market. Reduced liquidity in the market, rising rates by central banks, and in particular the Fed. And we haven't seen that either. In fact, we are seeing the opposite. We're seeing liquidity and interest rates are in, if anything, a downwards trend. So that's one part of the mystery. Then on the other hand, you've got a lot of fundamental aspects in terms of what we're seeing: huge institutional interest, very significant regulatory improvements to the market, which really fundamentally changed the market. And those also wouldn't indicate a bear market. And yet, what we're seeing is very, very significant fear in the market, which probably you guys are experiencing as well. And so one of the things that I've discussed in various forums recently is that, in my view, we have a paradigm. And when I say we, I mean, people who have been in crypto for a long time, people who have been in Bitcoin for a long time. There's a clock that we sort of schedule our lives according to, which is the 4-year cycle. And according to a traditional 4-year cycle, what should have happened is that we should have had the halving about a year and a half ago. We had the halving a year and a half ago. We then should have seen increase in prices at an accelerating pace unto roughly October or November of this year, when we should have seen a blow off top and then the beginning of a bear market. We saw some of those things. The halving was baked in. We saw increase in prices, actually starting for the first time ever before the halving actually happened. Usually it happens at a delay after the halving. And we saw a run up in price through towards the end of last year. But this year, prices have been mostly flat on the year, and we didn't see a blow off top. And my sense of it is that what we're seeing here is a new phenomenon. We are effectively seeing a community, and in particular the traders in the community, the more short-term thinkers in the community, have been trained to expect a 4-year cycle and are now sort of behaving as if that 4-year cycle exists. But on all other metrics, that 4-year cycle actually hasn't appeared and hasn't behaved in the way that we would expect it. Why is this important? This is going to impact us as well, right? We are on an island, and the BOS price is going to be impacted. The valuations of projects like Cardano, like Litecoin that we are integrating with, are going to be impacted. And also just generally, if you guys are invested in the space, you're going to be impacted as well. Now, I don't know what's going to happen. It might be that the 4-year cycle plays out. It might be, and what I think is much more likely, is that what we're actually seeing is sort of like a panic from people who think that there's going to be a 4-year cycle, but there actually isn't one. But what I do know is that one rule has always benefited me personally, and I think people who have followed this rule, even though it's very, very hard to follow, the people who have the discipline to follow this rule typically do well. And basically the rule has 2 parts, which is, 1, try to invest for the long term. Try to base any investments that you're making in Bitcoin, in crypto, on the basis of what the fundamental value you think is. And 2, if you can, take advantage of those moments when the market is at peak fear, a market like one we're just at. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to always time things for the exact bottom. That's a fool's game. But it does mean that you can be contrary-wise and basically acquire assets that have significant value when they are discounted. All right, so why do I bring all this up? I think it's very hard to have that discipline because when there is fear in the market, it is infectious and we all get infected in it. And 2, that kind of behavior infects all assets. And so I want to assure you guys that we are continuing to work. It is not impacting our work. We're continuing to make progress, and at the same time warn you guys that this is 100% in the short term going to impact our project as well, at least from a liquidity and a price perspective. And that can be an opportunity for you, but it is a fact that is unavoidable. Okay, so given that that's the situation, what are we doing, and what is the progress that we've been making? So right now, what we're working on and what we're going to be pushing out is a continuation of those things that we've already developed, have been developing, and is a maturation of the system. Over the course of the last year, we've built out Grail. We've also introduced Grail Pro, the institutional version. Both of these are currently being utilized. Grail Pro in particular is being utilized for more institutional type transactions on the Bitcoin network. We also demonstrated the ability to move BTC over to Cardano. And the next big challenge for integrating Bitcoin and Cardano through BOS has been allowing BTC, which gets beamed over to Cardano, to be represented as a standard Cardano token, a CNT. For that, we've been working towards that now and are getting close to completion. To do that, we've had to build deeply fundamental infrastructure technology, both for Cardano and for BOS. And I'll just give you two examples. I won't go into all of the different things that we've had to develop, but I'll give you two examples so that you have a sense of what are the kinds of things that we're doing. First, I'll talk about how we had to modify the BOS system, the BOS protocol. So the way the BOS protocol works is that we utilize the ability to create, we have ZK Lite clients, which can create proofs of an entire chain's state and generate those proofs as zero-knowledge proofs, which can be validated on Bitcoin. Initially, we built these for other chains like Ethereum, but for Cardano, we had to modify it and improve not just our system, but Cardano's Lite client system as well, and modify our system to accept those types of ZK proofs. And so that's a deeply technical piece of work where what we're doing is going to have significant benefits in terms of the flexibility of the BOS protocol and our ability to integrate with other systems, including the upcoming integration with Litecoin, and also has big benefits for Cardano in terms of making it easier for projects to generate Lite client proofs for Cardano. Another example of that is that Cardano, we needed to integrate our ability to utilize ZK proofs in Cardano for charms as well as for the Lite client. And Cardano has a very unique utilizes basically a curve that isn't really utilized by the rest of the ZK VM world. That curve is called BLS12. And so we've had to build ZK VM and are in the process of building ZK VM, which for the first time will be able to utilize BLS12. Now, BLS12 has actually big advantages, so I can understand why Cardano uses it. But the rest of the ZK world hasn't used it, and we're effectively building the first ZK VM capable of utilizing BLS12. Now, this is a huge sort of deep tech development, and has deep implications in terms of what you can then do with Ethereum and what you can do with ZK VMs more generally, and will allow for cheaper, faster ZK-VMs for Cardano and for every other chain, as well as for the first time allowing true ZK rollups to Cardano, ZK apps to Cardano, and in fact, even allowing a deeper integration between Cardano and the upcoming Midnight protocol than otherwise would have been possible. But these are significant pieces of technical infrastructure which we need to build in order to be able to realize our vision. And the completion of that work is what will allow us to provide a smooth, secure, seamless user experience and a secure, seamless integration between these different chains. At the same time, we've also begun the early stages of the work with integrating Litecoin, utilizing much of the technology that we've been just discussing. And we have the first rollups to Bitcoin utilizing BOS that will soon be launching their own testnets. So there's been a huge amount of development, right? We have effectively a mainnet system, but there's significant infrastructure that is coming online over the next few months, which is going to allow all developers and in fact all users to begin to experience the things that we've been building. So to sum it up, my view is that right now we are in a moment of extreme and therefore exaggerated fear in the Bitcoin and in the broader crypto space. We are not going to allow that to distract us. And we are achieving our roadmap and our goals, despite the significant technical complexity of achieving them, so that we can allow the BOS vision to become reality, and not just reality, but a useful and powerful reality, changing what is possible, not just with Bitcoin, but with many, many other chains as well.
Thank you, Yago. And I really, me and I'm sure the entire community appreciates you going over the current market conditions. I think it's important to have these types of conversations more often. Really appreciate that. And it seems like we've progressed quite a bit as well. So I'm sure the community was happy to hear some of those ecosystem updates, product updates. With that, let's dive into some of the community questions. The number one question that's pretty much like a burning question, everybody's been asking it every other day, is when do we expect the MinSwap liquidity pool to be funded?
That's a great question, actually, because it really follows on to what I was saying. So we're in the process of working not just to fund MinSwap, but also to integrate with a number of other dApps in the Cardano space. And we're doing the same thing on BSC and are also looking to do the same thing on Ethereum. Over the last 2 weeks, we've had a significant amount of work that we've had to do in terms of putting all the pieces in place to allow this to happen. This was work that could only happen once the token had launched. And so we basically, with MinSwap, as well as a few other examples, we have set up most of the work. I expect we will see MinSwap coming online quite soon, as well as a few other pools, and then integrations with other dApps as well. So maybe you guys, just as another example of some of the work that we've been doing, as you guys are probably aware, both CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko were not properly displaying our market cap or our tokens or a number of holders. Both of those significant sites that people use for basic information were not properly displaying the basic facts about BOS. And why? Because BOS looks different from other protocols, has users across multiple different chains, has different technology, has tokens across multiple different chains. And so it's been a big piece of work for us over the last 2 weeks to correct those issues. I can now say happily that the issues on CoinMarketCap have been corrected. We're now displaying the correct circulating supply, the almost correct number of holders. It's still undercounting the holders a little bit, but that should soon be corrected as well. But it's mostly correct. And CoinGecko most of the problems in CoinGecko have already been solved, and we expect to be able to solve the remaining issues in CoinGecko very, very shortly. So there's a lot of detailed work, right? A lot of little things that, just need to be taken care of, sort of like housekeeping that had to be done over the last 2 weeks that we've been taking care of, which allows us to position ourselves and to now turn more of our attention to DApp integrations and MinSwap and things like that.
Thanks, Yago. And of course, guys, if anything does change, promise you guys, you will be the first to know. We will share that in the announcements channel as soon as possible. Really, really do appreciate your patience there, my friends. Next question, Lucas BR. So good to have you back, friends. After TGE, should we expect any changes, especially on Discord? Will events and interactions slow down or stay the same? They will stay the same, my friend. The only reason why things had slowed down last week was simply just because I was sick and out of office. So you guys already know things have already picked back up this week. So expect things to remain the same. Indulgent asked, my question is, when do we expect public access to products and on pools being set up for DEXs? When will they be available?
Yeah, so basically that's the same question. So it's the same answer. Public access already exists in a somewhat limited fashion. So you can already go and transact the tokens like ZKBTC, or the BOS token, or the Bro token, but you still need to be quite technical in order to do most of these things. We currently have work to improve accessibility for everyone, both in terms of building a better Explorer, introducing a better wallet, making these assets available in other wallets that you guys probably already use. And we have an upcoming hackathon, which is going to be focused on building out tools which will allow more people to gain access to the network, even if they're not technical. So most of the, we're building a platform effectively, not really a user-facing application or something like that. And when you're doing that, the first people who gain access to it are the developers or power users. And then once that sort of substrate, that basic platform is available, on top of it, applications, front ends, user experience is built out. We're going to speed up that process by integrating with systems that already exist, systems on BSC, Cardano, Ethereum, Litecoin, and with wallets and other applications that already exist, so that people will be able to use the things that they're used to using, but use them for BOS.
Thanks, Yago. This next question is reads a little bit negatively, but of course, we're not going to skip it. We have no reason to not be transparent and honest here, so I'm going to read it out. This next person said, is there any consideration for the pre-sale investors and the time and hard-earned money they spent investing in BOS? Did we have to? No, but because you opened the door, there should be some expectation of providing a return within a reasonable amount of time, don't you think? The MinSwap liquidity is a joke 3 to 4 days after TGE, and we're weeks past now. It's a joke.
Yeah, so there's plenty of places to be able to trade the BOS token. MinSwap is taking longer than we had hoped because there were many things that we needed to deal with. And with regards to the pre-sale investors, look, I think everyone would like to see price go up on all things, always. And that is not the reality. The reality is that we are affected and impacted by the broader market. And the broader market right now is going through a period of extreme pain and limited liquidity. And actually, I'll mention something about the limited liquidity. As you guys probably remember, on October 10th, there was the single worst liquidation day due to liquidation cascades across Binance, Hyperliquid, and effectively all of the future markets, all of the leveraged pools. I think everyone knows that part of the story. The part of the story that is maybe less well known is that the primary actors who were negatively affected by this are the market makers. Now, market makers in crypto are basically the players who provide liquidity across all of the assets so that when most traders come to buy and sell any token, there is someone who's willing to sell it to them or someone who's willing to buy it from them. That is the role of the market maker. And so market makers play a very, very systemic role in this space. And the way that they play that role is by hedging their positions on the perpetuals market, not utilizing massive leverage usually, but they will usually hedge whatever position they have in the spot market to the perpetuals market. Because of the way that this crash happened, which had nothing to do with any event or any hack, it was just purely a cascading issue of API bugs and poor controls across the largest perp dexes, market makers suffered significantly. Some of them have gone out of business completely. That hasn't been made public, but most people within the industry are talking, and there is a awareness that many of these market makers have been completely wiped out. And other market makers are in the process of getting reimbursed by the exchanges, and in particular by Binance, which was the source of the primary problem. The result has been lower liquidity across all assets in the space. And this is likely to continue, I think, for several weeks as compensations are paid out, as the market makers who were not wiped out by this, and some of them actually made money, start to move into those assets which they were not dealing with before, and effectively take over and take on the positions that their competitors or ex-competitors were playing with, and as some of these market makers raise new capital. So a big part of what we're seeing right now in terms of the availability of assets, the liquidity for assets, the pricing of assets is as a result and basically a echo of what occurred on October 10th and is still going to take several weeks. My guess would be 2 or 3 weeks, maybe towards the end of the year, to sort itself out.
Thanks, Yago. That was a great answer. And this is just my own personal opinion, but I think that it's not fair to look at the current market conditions and take that as a reflection of BOS in any means whatsoever. But again, that is NFA, and that is my personal opinion. Sudi said, as TGE happened a couple weeks back, did TGE meet your expectations? What was the highlight for you at or after TGE?
So I think what we've seen with TGE has been a bit of a mixed bag. We saw the price go up significantly beyond where we expected it to be in the very first tick. And we saw much more robust trading activity than we expected. In other words, we saw more volume, just trade volume, regardless of direction, than what we were expecting on DEXs. But we saw much, much less on centralized exchanges. And the reason for this, I believe, I don't have direct evidence of this, but just by looking at other types of assets and the overall market conditions, is that the market makers are dominant on centralized platforms because they have centralized order books, whereas DEXs are primarily automated market makers. In other words, they don't require external market makers in order to provision liquidity, and they're not dependent on external market makers as much. They still have a role to play there, but their role is much less significant. And so what we saw was very, very significant interest, which did not carry on to the on the DEX side, which did not carry on to the SEC side. Now, even on the SEC side, our volumes have been significant and sometimes very, very significant. And there's been significant interest. But I think we came out, right? Our token launched very, very shortly after the crash. And basically our entire experience, which has been quite short, just a few weeks right now, these few weeks has entirely the whole history of our experience has been within this very, very unusual environment of low liquidity, and as a result also extreme fear. So I think given that that's the circumstance, we were obviously disappointed by the market conditions that we launched into, but very buoyed and gratified by the fact that despite that, we've seen very significant interest and performance, in many cases outperforming what we would consider peer assets by BOS.
Thanks, Yago. So this next question is regarding something that you had already answered, but I think we should go over it again. This next person said, I think a statement from Yago or the team may be needed to address concerns highlighted above in respect to the lack of an official DEX LP on Cardano. Was this a little bit of an oversight, especially when some funding had been provided via Catalyst? It seems, probably completely innocently, that Cardano users have been left behind in this respect, hence the frustration of some users.
So first of all, just on a factual basis, we have received no funding from Catalyst of any kind. And with regards to MinSwap, our expectation was to be on MinSwap earlier. However, being on MinSwap earlier requires several things. One, we needed to have the availability to just the bandwidth in order to make that happen. And second, the capital to make that happen. So actually, this is another way in which market conditions have impacted us on a short-term basis. So one, due to the market conditions, we needed to pay more careful attention to not spreading our liquidity too thin. And actually, in the first stage of the project, we actually had to provide some additional capital to market makers that we were utilizing in order to allow them to provision liquidity, because the market and the natural organic market makers that you would usually expect to see had completely disappeared from the market. That is being reduced. And so that capital can now be turned towards provision of liquidity on MinSwap. The second thing is, there were some things that we probably could have known and could have done a better job of. So but we're not entirely under our control. So, for example, what I'd mentioned earlier around the way that our data was being displayed by CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko was incorrect. And so we had to spend effort in order to correct those issues. Some of that we possibly could have predicted, but it's very hard to know until. So we actually, weeks before, had already developed APIs, developed block explorers to allow CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap to integrate into BOS, but they hadn't properly implemented them, and we couldn't know that until the system launched. And so we had to invest resources into correcting that and helping them correct their implementation. So there simply have been some number of things which have limited our bandwidth beyond what we were expecting, and as a result have slowed down certain things like the MinSwap integration.
Thanks, Yago. And the user did clarify. He said, apologies, Yago. I thought I remembered from 6 months ago regarding Catalyst. That's my mistake. Next question here. Stormpister asked, when is the next Zeely sprint? That's a great question, my friend. I'm surprised you're asking that, because I know that everybody needs a break after that last one. But hopefully within the next 2 weeks or so, my friend. And then, when is the BOS airdrop coming for those who have staked SOV?
So with SOV, a SIP is going to be introduced soon to formalize what has already been announced and decided. Sovereign is a founding entity, one of the founding entities of BOS, and is going to receive an allocation of BOS tokens, and these are going to unlock as a founding entity. And the first unlocks will begin in October 2026.
Thanks, Yago. This next question says, nice to hear from you, aliens. Was a pretty tough TGE, events and all. Thumbs up. Thank you, my friend. Always to you and the team. My question is likely about staking the BOS token. How are staking rewards going to be generated? Is there going to be a lockup period? And how long is this going to be, if yes?
So we expect to first launch the V2 on Cardano of the BOS token, which will allow for Cardano BOS tokens to move to Bitcoin, to be moved by users to any chain that is integrated with BOS, and then integrate the staking, because otherwise it would disadvantage the Cardano community of holders in terms of the staking.
Thank you, Yago. This next question was regarding liquidity pools, and we've already covered that, Elsa. Like Yago said, like we were focusing on some administrative work and such that had to be put aside with TGE. So now we're focusing on like those DApp integrations. So once that progresses forward, you guys will obviously be the first to know. So I am skipping that question, but you're still getting XP. On-chain asked, good morning, Boss Crew. What's next for the community? That's a great question, my friend. I mean, we have the Ordinals campaign that's live right now, as you know. So I implore everybody, if you haven't participated in that, to participate. It's going to be a free mint to anybody who places in the top 1,200 of that new quest board that we have that's catered towards the Ordinals campaign. So highly recommend looking into that. But you do have the Die Hard role, my friend, and I do have something special coming for those with the Die Hard role next week. So stay tuned for that. That should be exciting. And then, I already answered it previously with Lucas had asked, are things kind of like slowing down? No, my friend, nothing in the community is going to slow down. We obviously still have, all our activities and our events going live. I simply just took a slight break last week because I was sick. So expect things to be on full blast next week. Thanks for asking that, though. Mikeland said, when will the Zeely Sprint Ladder be available again? That's a good question, my friend. I'm thinking in the next couple of weeks. I'm just giving you guys a break because this last sprint was pretty insane and the competition was high there. It was super fun, though. We all had a great time. But yeah, just giving you guys a slight break. Lord Whitefire asked, guys, I just want to use this opportunity to thank the entire BOS team. You all are really trying, and I appreciate every single one of you. Shout out to my Zeely friends too, Storm, Sudi, Jason, 2B, John, Elsa, Jason, Indulgent, and the rest, and especially Alien. Good to see you recovering. Thank you, everyone. We love you, Lord Whitefire. Thank you so much, my friend. We appreciate you. Next question. Dumble Oars asked a couple questions here. Are there any plans to mitigate token inflation in the short term?
So I actually don't think we have significant token inflation in the short term. The market cap will go up in terms of circulating supply, primarily as pre-sale tokens unlock, but that represents in totality only 3% of the overall circulating of the overall supply, and would represent only I'm doing the maths in my head real quick. 12% increase to the overall circulating supply over the course of the next 6 months. We do not have a inflationary sort of model in place. This is, intentional. And so the most important mitigation is not to have inflation, and that's what we've done.
Thanks, Yago. They asked one more question. They actually had asked a couple, but I'm only going to go through two. So this next question is, in previous posts, Charles Hoskinson criticized the creation of the token. How is our relationship with him today?
We have a very good relationship. I have a good relationship with Charles. I think his views have changed significantly. You guys might remember that early on, Charles was hugely supportive of what BOS was doing. Then was upset that there was going to be a token. When he realized that that token was going to be on Cardano, he became significantly less upset. I think overall it was a storm in a teacup.
Thanks, Yago. You already highlighted this in the updates, but if you just want to give a quick TLDR, what the next major milestone is for BOS right now.
Yes, we have several upcoming milestones. We are going to see the first testnet rollups. We are going to see ZKBTC available. So actually, before that, we're going to have the ability to port or beam assets from Bitcoin to Cardano as well as to other chains. We have some work that we're doing on Cardano that I can't talk about yet, but I think will be announced quite soon, which is going to be quite exciting. And we are beginning work around the Litecoin integration, which I think we'll be able to announce some progress on quite soon as well.
Thank you, Yago. Next question is by Jimmy Shaker. He said, I observed the launch of Bob built on Bitcoin yesterday. They have available right after launch staking, delegating tokens to node operators, delegating tokens for governance, one-click access to native Bitcoin, bridging, and then 47 working dApps. He said, while our tech seems to be more innovative or even revolutionary than their infrastructure and their UX seems slick and far ahead. When will we have a product that might set us apart? Yago?
Yeah, sorry. I couldn't find the button for a second because I changed tabs and I have too many tabs open.
That's okay.
Yeah, so Bob is a very, very different project. It's a roll up to Ethereum. And so they are basically using the optimism stack, and with it the full set of tooling that has been built for the optimism stack. So they're building a Bitcoin focused project on Ethereum, very different from what we're doing. What we're doing is building funding, 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 is building. I would say you probably will never see BOS develop the kinds of tools that Bob are building, because Bob are more of an application layer project, whereas what we're building is infrastructure. And so projects will be building on us, and what you will see is integrations of chains, and then as a result, their applications integrated with BOS. You'll see rollups on BOS, and so that will be the user-facing experience. So it's two very different approaches. One is building sort of like the front end, and one is building the back end. We're building the back end. They have built front end, and so the focus is completely different. And the user experience of BOS will be through the projects that build on our platform and that are building on our platform.
Thank you, Yago. And then Jimmy, you did ask a question about Cardano as well. Hopefully you feel like your question was answered earlier. Sensei Man said, I just want to send a huge thank you to the entire BOS team. It means a lot that you guys are constantly finding ways to give back and support the community. When it feels like so many projects are leaving people behind, BOS is right there with amazing initiatives like the Sprint, giveaways, Engage Marketplace. We really appreciate you putting the community first. We're super excited to finally get our hands on the tech when it drops. Count us in. We're still holding BOS. That is beautiful. Thank you so much, my friend, and we appreciate you being such an amazing community member. Of course, we're always happy to give back to the community that supports us. Solo said, question for the upcoming BOS community call. What's the current TVL or BTC committed to Grail Pro, BOS rollups, testnets, and what's the realistic target by end of 2025?
Right now, there's several tens of millions in ZKBTC. There's actually on the website, you can track it. So if you go to the website, there's a dashboard that you can take a look at. That number fluctuates, and I would expect it to stay relatively low within the 7 figures range, low 7 figures range, 8 figures range, through to the end of the year. We're going into December. There's going to be Christmas, and we do not expect to see significant changes from the more institutional side. What we will see is other assets. So Beyond that, there's the BOS token with its own valuation, and there are other tokens which will come online with their own valuations beyond just ZKBTC. But ultimately, the most significant growth we expect to see over 2026 is going to be in ZKBTC, and then other assets like ZKLTC on Litecoin, which will be the first time that you'll be able to utilize Litecoin as a programmable token and start utilizing that with DeFi as well.
Thank you, Yago. A couple more questions here before we wrap up. Metal Pig asked, what metrics is the team watching most closely right now to measure success, e.g. daily active addresses, trading volume, verified testnet, ZKBTC, etc.?
The primary metrics that we're looking at are transaction volumes of Charms tokens. So that includes ZKBTC as well as all of the other Charms tokens, primarily on Bitcoin. That is sort of like the minute by minute activity that we're monitoring. And then the other key thing that we're looking at, which is not as minute by minute and also less public, is integrations that we're seeing and the progress of the tech that we're deploying. And so it's the combination of those things which give us a strong sense of confidence, and that we're very happy with the way all three of those have been progressing.
Thank you, Yago. Next question. When is the buy and burn mechanism set to go live?
The buy and burn mechanism would go live after a period of having accumulated revenue for the protocol itself. So I don't have a date. The protocol right now is generating relatively little revenue. So, in the probably about a Bitcoin of revenue has been generated so far. We would like to see that grow, and then the buy and burn mechanism will be turned on.
Thank you, Yago. Next question. First, I want to thank God for your fast recovering, Miss Alien. Thank you, my friend. Much appreciated. This next question is, do you see BOS becoming the main coordination layer for the fragmented Bitcoin layer 2s, or is it better for them to stay independent?
It's an interesting question. I think it's very good to have independent systems, but certainly what we're trying to do and what we're building towards is having a system which can unify and will unify, and in fact will have multiple different systems built on it. One of the key differences between our strategy and the strategy of other... So maybe I'll take a step back here. There's a lot of things which claim to be Bitcoin Layer 2s. One of them we already mentioned just a few moments ago is Bob. Whether or not you count Bob as a Bitcoin Layer 2, I suppose, is a matter of taste. But it doesn't actually utilize Bitcoin's technology. It's not actually secured by Bitcoin. And that's true of basically all of the things which call themselves Bitcoin Layer 2s today. So I think our first mission is to actually bring Bitcoin Layer 2s into reality. And our goal is to build a platform on which many types of systems, products, applications can run on Bitcoin, including things as complicated as entire other chains. And so rather than sort of building out these sort of fragmented, disconnected systems which don't really integrate with Bitcoin, our goal is to go and take very, very significant systems, starting with the UTXO chains, like Cardano, Litecoin, eventually Doge, Monero, turn them into effectively Bitcoin Layer 2s, and then turn all of crypto into a Bitcoin Layer 2. So our fundamental goal is to be a platform which can unify all of crypto around Bitcoin. We don't expect to be the only technology that will do this, or the only platform that can do this. It is such a valuable and important thing to be doing that we're certain that there's going to be competition. And there are other projects out there. As an example, there's Citrea, there's Alpen, who have taken different approaches to trying to do the same thing, but are effectively trying to do the same thing. Although the way that they're trying to do it is basically build their own rollups onto Bitcoin rather than integrate other existing systems. So I think our approach is unique. I think our approach is best. But it's not the only approach, and certainly is not the only project that will try to do this. And as we and others become successful, there will be more and more copycats for sure.
Thanks, Yago. And how much time do you have left for? You got like one or two more questions?
Sure.
Okay. So To Be Cryptological asked, question for Yago, is the team looking at Cardano's Midnight sidechain and its rational privacy model as a potential future fit? Midnight's selective disclosure approach feels like it could mesh really well with what BOS is building.
Yes, so I think that confidential transactions or privacy is extremely important in crypto. I think that Midnight is one approach and one important approach. And by integrating with Cardano and with Midnight, we will be able to bring the advantages of Midnight's approach to privacy and confidential transactions to Bitcoin, as well as to all of the other primary UTXO systems that integrate with BOS.
Thank you, Yago. All right, let's do one more question here. Let me see here. How likely is the possibility to take advantage of the Bitcoin Lightning Network with BOS?
Theoretically, it's possible to integrate with the Lightning Network. We haven't seen much reason to do so. And the reason is that BOS does what Lightning does, we think, much better than Lightning does it. It allows for much greater scale than Lightning allows. It allows for that scale to be far more capital efficient. It doesn't require pre-funding of all transactions. It allows for true privacy rather than just privacy through people not seeing your hops on chain. But if anyone's sitting in the middle of your transactions, they can see what you're doing. It allows for programmability. So I think what we're doing is a strict improvement in almost all ways to Lightning Network. And the second reason that we are not that fussed about integrating with Lightning Network is we think that Lightning Network adoption overall has been quite poor and quite niche. So there are niches where it's utilized, but certainly hasn't been what people were expecting. And one of the other big disadvantages of the Lightning Network is that most of the usage of Lightning is sent through centralized actors because of the difficult, technically the way that Lightning Network is built, there are many ways in which Lightning Network is actually very difficult to use, both for developers, but most importantly for users. It needs to be pre-funded, you need to be online all the time, or you need to have you need to be able to manage your BTC so that it can exist in Lightning channels, and then when it is in Lightning channels, it can't be used for anything else, so it's effectively locked up. You need to be able to provision liquidity. You need to be able to route your transactions. It's an extremely complex system to use. Now, I will say that I think, to my credit, I predicted that would be the case, probably before anyone else in the world. The reason I say I predicted before anyone else in the world was because even before Lightning Network was invented, the person who invented Lightning Network, his name is Thaddeus Dirja, came up with the first concept of Lightning Network when he was working at one of my companies, which was called Epiphyte. It was a company that we'd set up and became quite successful to do cross-border transactions using Bitcoin. And we were concerned about the scalability of Bitcoin and the reliability of being able to use Bitcoin given the variability in fees, especially when most of the transactions happen when most people want to transact, and that's exactly the moment when transaction fees are highest. And so we started looking for an alternative. Taj came up with the idea for Lightning Network when he was, as part of that project, while he was working at the company, and I decided that we wouldn't invest in Lightning Network because I thought that all of the things that I've just described would prove to be the case with Lightning Network, and that it would only be useful for a few niche applications, specifically one-directional payments to big centralized players. Taj disagreed and ultimately left the company around this, and then created Lightning Network. But I think that was 2013 and 14. He left the company in 2014. Here we are 11 years later, and I think I was proved right. And one other thing I'll say is, even back then, so the work that I'm doing now on BOS is a result of the work that I was doing back then. It's always been the same goal, and we've been trying to work towards this goal of being able to build the functionality and the performance that we think that Bitcoin needs and can benefit from and can deliver for since then. And BOS is the solution.
You always drop some insane information on us, Yago. We always learn something new. That's cool. I guess like last question, more so like update. Obviously, you already know where the community stands in regards to wanting to stake on a Slam node operator of their choice. Do you have any updates there for us that you could share?
Yeah, so I also, I think during the last call I said that you should not expect staking during 2025. We expect it in the first half of 2026. Staking is important and will be crucial to the platform moving forward, but it is, and we might be able to do it sooner than I expect. A lot of the tooling that we need we've already built, but we want to make sure that it is rolled out in a way which will be responsible, which will allow people to utilize it, which will bring real value. And so we need to complete that work and roll it out. And so my expectation is sort of pessimistically first half of 2026, possibly sooner.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that. I'm sure the community is happy to hear that as well. Yago, if you have things to do, feel free to hop off. It was awesome having you. I'm sure the community is very happy to hear from you. Hopefully we can host another call sometime next week or possibly the week after to reconnect with the community and answer any questions if there's any remaining.
Thanks very much.
But yeah, is there any final remarks, anything you wanted to leave us with?
Yes, I think I still think this is the most exciting moment and maybe the most interesting moment that Bitcoin has ever been in. I think we're at the dawn of a new era for Bitcoin as an institutional asset, as a reserve asset, as a programmable asset, as a scalable asset, and as the center of the entire crypto world. I think what this will mean is new ways to use Bitcoin, more accessibility for Bitcoin, better UI for Bitcoin, and through that for the rest of crypto. That's what we're here for, and that's what we're going to deliver.
Amazing. Thank you. We definitely needed a little bit of that positivity today, so it's much, much appreciated. But yeah, feel free to hop off. I'm just going to go over like some of the community things that are taking place. So first and foremost, there's a couple questions about the ambassador program. So as you guys know, I announced it. I announced the ambassador program about 3 days or so before TGE happened. Then TGE happened, and there was all things TGE, right? We had a bunch of like community campaigns running. We had the pre-sale claims, the airdrop claims. We had OKX claims. Among all those claims, we also had a bunch of like issues that took place. And so literally for, days and days and days on end, there was hundreds of support tickets and issues, and everybody needed help with something different. So that really took up like a significant chunk of my time. And then, um, and then I got sick. And I haven't been able to jump back into, looking at like the applications that came in. So I plan on doing that next week, my friends. I plan on looking at like some of the applications that came through, and then obviously if it's a right fit, if the users that applied meet the certain criteria that we have, then of course we will be reaching out and we will be onboarding you guys. I just need to sync with the team again and just go over the program and just take a look at where we're at internally. So hopefully that answers that question. And let me give you XP here for the Slam Node question. And then Hamd, you asked a question about airdrops. So I can't release any information until the airdrop process is completely like said and done with. There was a little bit of like issues that took place for like some users, and we've had to address that like manually. I've been taking care of that for like the last like 3 or so weeks, ever since the airdrop claims portal opened. So once airdrop claims and all that has been finalized, then I can actually present you guys with a little bit more information regarding that. But obviously I can't do that until it's been finalized, right? I just want to make sure that I have all the right information to share with you guys there. And then some of you guys have been asking about the airdrop claims portal, whether or not, it'll be open again, whether or not, you guys will get a second chance. I have been working tirelessly to come up with a solution and do what I can for you guys, of course, as always, that. And I can't guarantee that something will happen, but keep your eyes peeled for notifications next week, early next week. I'll be sharing any information if anything changes. Let's just say that. Okay. Let's see here. Zeely campaigns. So I just want to say like shout out to to everybody that participated in our last Zeely sprint. It was so fun, and you guys like made incredible amounts of like memes that were super intimate, that were super personable, that like covered a lot of like the inside jokes that we have in the community. And it's just beautiful to be a part of that. And I hope that you guys also feel the same. It's just awesome to see that like we have a community of people who are like friends, right? We all know each other. We chat shit on a daily basis. I'm apparently a running joke in the community. So we got Sudi, who's also an alien, Storm, who's also an alien. We got the alien crew. But yeah, it's just awesome to be a part of this. I think that, this is something that has been, in my personal opinion, being somebody who's been here like last cycle, this community feel is something that's like been missing in the space this cycle, this time around. I think last cycle community was everywhere. Like you could join any project anywhere, and there was always a sense of community. People were friends. But I do think that, that has something to do with it coinciding with COVID. I think a lot of people had more time on their plate. And yeah, I honestly think that that's really what it was. It was just a different time, of course. And, the trajectory for what community has honestly like shifted this cycle. So, it's just bottom line. What I'm just trying to say is it's awesome to be part of such an awesome community of people that are so friendly and understanding and compassionate and just fun to be with, and people who have like an unhinged sense of humor. That's always fun too. All the weird ass movies that we watch together. But with that being said, my friends, it is giveaway time. So I'm asking for your attention right this moment. Of course, anybody who dropped a question in the AMA questions channel, you will be entering a raffle to win 200 engage points, because I'm really trying to get you guys to get that PS5, man. I really want you guys to go grab that ASAP. So we're giving out some points today. Yeah, with that being said, my friend, let's see those hearts. Let's see those hearts. Let's see those reactions. Anybody who throws out a reaction right now automatically gets entered to win not only a USDC giveaway, but we're talking engage points on engage points, man. Let's go. Like I said, I really want you guys to get that PS5. So let's see those hearts. All right. I'm seeing Green Man in the chat. We got Lord, Morento, Steve Hoppy. Let's go. We got Indulgent, Victor, Jason, our moderator is slacking. Hello. What's going on? Not seeing any interactions there. We got Solo. We got Jess, our fellow moderator, our beautiful moderator. Tommy. Let's go. Posley. We got Suzanne, Professor, Tell in the chat. All of you are entered to win a giveaway, my friend. Let's see those reactions. Let's see those reactions. Hell yeah. All right, a couple more seconds, guys. We got Indulgent in the chat. We got Jess Waving. We got Dennis Wen Lambo. We got Lord Whitefire. Everybody with the hearts. All right, I got a bunch of screenshots in, so make sure you are following me though, friends. Make sure you are following me because that is the only way that I'll actually be able to like tag you. If you do end up being the winner, and you're not following me, your name is not going to pop up and I'm not going to be able to tag you. This has happened multiple times, by the way, where there's been so many winners. All right, wait, hold up. You guys can stop with the reactions. I know you're all very happy and excited to be here, but you can stop with the reactions. It's all good now. It's all good. It's all good. You guys have permission to officially stop. um, but yeah, it's happened a couple times where there's been a couple of giveaway winners and I couldn't reach out to you guys because you weren't following me. So let that not be the case, my friends. I want you to win. You know I want you to win. All right, so let me see here. All right, accidentally exited out of Twitter. All right, guys. Well, I think that honestly like wraps it up. As you guys know, it's Friday. It is the best day of the week. I hope that you guys get some time to relax, lay low, watch some movies, hang out with friends, be present in the moment as always. You deserve it. Take care of yourselves. Don't end up like me. Please do not end up like me. It has been a brutal 10 days of recovery. So please take care of yourselves, drink lots of water, eat your veggies, eat your fruits, man. And I will catch you guys on next week's community events. Of course, like I said, we're not slowing down. I'm going to do everything I can to, kickstart Zeely at some point. I know you guys are patiently waiting for that. And the activities will obviously like pick up next week as well. And yeah, that's it, my friends. So let's end on a positive note. I think we could all use it. The market conditions are drowning us all. We can all attest to that and agree to that. But you know what, friends? We're in this together. Nobody's experiencing this alone. I promise you that. You guys already know my bag's been in the gutter. My bag's been in the gutter for a couple months now. I've been very honest about that. So you guys are not alone there. We're experiencing this together. All I can say is just, look at the long term, guys. Just make sure that you remember why we're all here. And it's been also on top of that, an amazing learning process for us all, especially any of those of us who have been in this community. Like we've honestly grown so much in our knowledge. We've learned so much. I know most of you who joined in had no idea what a zero knowledge proof was, and now you're literally a software developer. So yeah, it's been an awesome journey, guys, and it's just the start. Don't let any kind of short-term price indication affect your love for anything, affect your love for the space, affect your love for this project. We're all in this together, and yeah, with that, my friends, have an amazing weekend.